Dear colleagues, I hope you're all having wonderful performances, inspiring talks, and fruitful discussions. But it's always nice to have an opportunity to gather all of us in the same place and to listen to something that later can give an inspiration for all of us together. So I'm very happy to present today our second keynote, which is a Lithuanian composer and conductor, Vykintas Baltakas. He's the founder of the Lithuanian Ensemble Network, conductor for major orchestras and contemporary music ensembles. He's also a professor of composition at the Maastricht Academy of Music, and since September 2016, he has led the master's program for performance of contemporary music at the Lithuanian Academy of Music and Theatre. And the performer who will take the challenge today, as you see in the title of Vykintas' lecture, is Lithuanian pianist, Doctor of Arts, Indrė Baikštytė. So I welcome on stage Vykintas Baltakas.
Hello to everybody. Yes, she presented me. I immediately will jump into the subject. Actually, I want to steal the theme and the title of John from yesterday. It's interesting because I'm a composer here. He's a musicologist, I'm not. And I'm a performer, but more actually as composer active. And I think it's a very interesting link, which links directly to my theme, to look at that the same thing from my perspective. And what I want to say, I really liked that many things were what John said, and I just want to stress a few things. Beyond and creative practice. So if you remember what John told about the quote from Schoenberg about arrogant performer, so this is a very interesting point, maybe in that context, in that historical context, which which is totally different from today, and we can see the romantic time before, and the musicians often saw the composer as a tool and not as a creative person. And very often you had a diva as a performer, which actually didn't at all try to come even close to the score. Yeah, so my comment would be to talk about beyond. Beyond means beyond something. So, but in order to go beyond, you have to arrive to something, arrive to the score, and arrive to, as John rightly told, to a deep understanding of what composer thought. And so I really believe that actually that quote of Schoenberg is speaking about these musicians which are even not trying to come closer to that score, but basically using the score as a presentation tool for its own ego. So that's important. That's important to talk today, and to talk from composer's perspective about the relationship between the composer and performer, between score and interpretation, between discipline and freedom. And a few notes maybe here. What would mean actually, in my eyes, deep understanding? That was again a very interesting point. We are now in Lithuania. Here's the sport number one is basketball. And so basketball is played with ball. Football is played with ball too. So actually you can be very creative in both in football or basketball, but you have to follow the rules. And the deep understanding is actually really to understand the rules and to see what is your freedom between these rules. So again, to talk about the diva from 19th century, which is even not trying to understand the rules and playing football instead of basketball. So that's not okay. We have very different approaches from composer's point of view. How much the composer allows, how much freedom a composer allows. And again, that belongs to understanding of these rules, game rules. For example, you can talk about romantic time and a lot of freedom for tempo, for dynamics are allowed. From another side, you can talk as a contrast, minimalistic or scholastic contemporary serialism, and which is totally a different approach. So in order to understand, but of course everything is relative. Even if Stockhausen writes piano or forte or fortissimo, yeah, it's not absolute. Of course, that's a freedom for your interpretation. But you have to respect what is written in the score. So I will now do a very concrete, practical demonstration of one approach of mine, which, in my eyes, changed quite a lot the role and function of performer. It is about a quite new piece. It's called Sandwriting for piano duo, or rather keyboard duo. It was created this year and performed in Witten. It's commissioned by WDR, and an important point is actually it's not piano duo but keyboard duo, and electronic is playing a very important role here, which was realized in Freiburg, the Experimentalstudie des SWR. What is about? Since long time as a composer, I'm trying to escape linearity in form. What do I mean with linearity? Sequence of events structurally and thematically related to each other. So it's rather a concept which was most dominant in the century. And I made a short presentation that is a main character, hero, and its exposition, transition. And the main theme, development. The main hero has adventure. A secondary theme, development, recapitulation, and culmination. And the piece ends with coda. So it's fine, it's nothing wrong about it, but how to say, as a composer, I have some different ideas, different wishes, and I try to escape it somehow. And the music is not only that. If we look at different styles, different genres, we have ethno music, for example. We have many African music. We have Lithuanian sutartinės, which actually is not really time-based music. We can talk about jazz, which I think it's not really. It's basically it's a turning. It's a state rather. If we talk about a lot of it's the same. So what I want to say, music is not only that, and that interests me a lot. In contemporary, You had approaches of moment form, for example, Stockhausen. Different approaches, not only. Yeah. The problem, what we face with that, because it's not so easy, and so, hi, yeah. So why sometimes it doesn't work is because our perception is time-based. So we collect events in time, we follow events in time, we remember them, and we naturally make relationships between them. So, so let's say if Stockhausen or Cage, for example, says it is just a moment and enjoy that, and next note is a next moment, it doesn't really work like that. You have to do a little bit more, because if we have few different notes, we automatically connect them into a melody or something like that. So, that's why it's a big theme for me on different levels, compositional technique and technology, how to escape this linearity in music, at the same time work with our natural perception. So basically what I'm talking about this, basically being in a state and not hunting from one object to another object. And it's, to be more serious now, it's being in showing different perspectives of the same. That's would be my technique, how I deal with it. And what I want to show now, a few more examples from architecture. This is a theater, the Modal, and now we will have different pictures of the same theater. And it doesn't change the model itself. But what we have now, we have this green grass, we see a certain shape, and we see a little bit of inside. Now, if we look at this, it's exactly the same model. We don't see grass almost anymore. We don't see anything from inside. We see a little bit of the roof. Now, next one. We see the whole thing, entire picture, in 4 or 5 floors. And now we see that from above. That's exactly what I'm trying to do with music. Let's say in every moment you have different elements, and you can filter these elements, or you can emphasize these elements. You can focus on certain things, but basically, like, you keep the same essence, the same material essence, and that's what we want to try now with Indrė. So basically, it's the technique for this piece. The piece contains about 30 pages, and basically it's written almost like a variation technique, but it's always very strongly related in that way, as I was just talking, or adding something, or removing something, or emphasizing something. And let's say if we play now the first page, Energico. Thanks. Mm-hmm. So this is, let's say, this is starting material. And what we have here, we have a melody, we have rhythm, pulsation, and we have harmony. Yeah, that's all. We have, of course, certain color, we have certain register. Now, let's say, if you play the next delicatamente, okay, thanks. And now, leggero. You see, so basically now I removed, I played with dynamics. I kept the melody and kept the harmonical accompaniment. Thanks. So that's basically now developed melody and developed dynamics. Now the next would be secco, and basically it's concentrated on only the rhythmical pattern. Thanks. And now, if you play agitato, it's the same, almost the same thing, but how to say, dynamically more energetic. Thanks. And now let's play inquieto. Opened the register to the bass, and now marcato espressivo. Thanks. I think it's very clear. I don't need to comment here. Now let's play impetuoso. Thanks. And vigoroso. Thanks. So you see how the material is built. So why is that important? Because actually what I'm doing, I'm not prescribing a direction. These 30 pages are free to choose, and it's actually when you move from one page to another page, you will still have the same material but in different shape, from different perspective. That's the point. But now I come to the role of the computer, and that's where it becomes really interesting, at least for me, because the computer is choosing which is the next sequence. And the computer, it becomes interactive because the computer is listening how she's playing, and depending on the way how she's playing, for example, if we have a very strong melody, it proposes a next continuation which actually emphasizes the melody. If she plays very strong the accents, the computer proposes a moment, next sequence, which actually amplifies the accents, sforzato. And so this, which is immediately a different role, different relationship between the performer and the piece, because she's choosing. She is deciding actually by how what is the next, how the shape of a piece, and a different relation between the performer and computer. What I'm using for this piece, we come to the next moment of the performer. She's playing with a sampler, and normally the piano has only piano sound. Now, using a sampler, I'm free to use any sounds. I stay with piano-made sounds, but these are, but I'm using the sampler data bank, which is called Contemporary, which is a data bank specially built for contemporary music. And basically, now maybe we can show something. What just the temporal possibilities we have now. Wait. Up. Yeah. Now, it is again interactive. If you would play very soft now, you would have only piano sounds. Now, and if you play something loud, so you see, actually, if she emphasizes some notes, it immediately creates a melody, 1 octave or 2 octaves higher, and change something in the color. So let's keep going. Let's go to Delicamente. This is just a normal sound. Thanks. So all these sounds are still from piano, but played inside or played outside of used. But what is interesting is, again, it's very much related to how she plays. It's like the violin player, for example, has such a big variety of colors, and sul ponticello, pizzicato, etc. And the piano doesn't, and so that changed a little bit. Let's go to insistendo. Again, if you would play only very soft and now. Thanks. It's not too loud because I don't have a good control here. It's okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's play next one. Okay, sometimes you have different structures, and these are used, let's say in one moment you have a normal piano sound and something else. But for example, why it's important, all this crescendi and all this, sometimes you have double notes and chords. So let's say if you would play just one note, and you add another one. You see, it changed. Now, if you would play just that note loud, voila. So basically, the pianist is really it's free to play. It's an instrument, and but instrument is not only on the color as a color, but as a structure as well. Let's go to the next one. This one. Thanks. So again, if she plays louder, yeah, maybe you can show just soft. Okay. Why this is important? Because maybe you can just jump to the next section. This is important because we have another pianist. And this is chamber music, and they both don't know exactly which sequence will be as next, and basically it creates a situation of how to say, it's not improvisation but very active creation. And in this situation, you would like to let's say you really sonorically react. Comment, playing against all that's what you actually do as a musician, and by for example a situation like that, she could at certain moment play notes, at certain moment stay in the background, and she could decide temporarily. Let's show that together. We don't have a second pianist now. And I will play the second part just as recording, and I'm missing something, and she would react to a different situation. Just a moment. Okay. just was just randomly jumping from one recording to another, as a simulating the second pianist. What I wanted to show, that actually she kept playing with exactly the same material, but actually depending from the context, depending what was what was the second pianist was playing, she immediately and intuitively changed the way how she was playing. What was she emphasizing? What was she playing in the background? In one moment she was in total background, and another moment she was equal with another piano, and again in a different situation was in a front. So that becomes very interesting, at least for me. Okay, I will show more examples like that. Alargament. I will play the same thing. Now I will play the same material but for the second piano, and she will keep the same. She will do something different. So in one situation, it was exactly the same. It was a background tremolo, and she was playing the melody on top. And another situation, the melody was in the front, and she became a background. So, and now add to this that she can change her colors, and she can react in time as well. So, what is now? What it becomes actually, the piece as a form turns into some kind of constant morphing mechanism. I don't know if everybody knows what morphing is. I will try to show it. Morphing is here. Oops. I will do it a little bit differently. Sorry. Forgive me. Oh yeah, that's great. Okay, that's. I think it's clear. That's a basic idea. Is actually it's a phase, and that phase is changing, and exactly that is this piece. Is turning. It's a state. Now, how much time we still have? 10 minutes? Yeah. I guess. I'm almost done. I can play some examples from recording to see. One thing, one technical thing. It would be interesting to see maybe how it works technically for a musician, because as I told, the computer decides which is the next moment, and we will play now 4 different sequences in a row, and you will see how it works. thanks. So, as you saw, she's basically, so she's not starting from beginning, but actually it's always continuation. So she tries to jump. It's not easy. Maybe it's the biggest disadvantage of this system, how to make it smooth, how to make it logical. Okay, and I would we probably would show few more tembrical examples. Let's do this, what we just played. Can you, yeah. Okay, thanks. So we saw what is about how a piece works, what it's about, what the pianist is doing. I will play now a few examples. So basically, it's such kind of work creates totally new, different relation between the composer and performer, between the performer and the piece. The performer becomes really a part of the piece. It's really actively creates. And what is, for me, extremely important, creates sensitively, listening, by reacting, by being a part of it. And, okay, thanks for Indrė. Just an idea, I will play now a few results, not a whole piece, of course, but what is going to, what becomes. Sorry if it's sometimes too loud or too, I mean, just tell me, because I play from different sources, so. Okay. Few more examples and then. Every time different combination. And the last example.
that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vykintai. And well, we normally don't ask questions the keynotes, but since I find it so fascinating how the issues of this very complex relationship between the composer and the performer vary and still are the same, not depending on the repertoire. Basically, everybody has been talking about different repertoires, and now we're in the 21st century, and it's still all the same topic. So if somebody has an urgent need to ask or to comment something, we still have a few minutes to do that.
Sorry? The length is open, actually. It's basically it's a toy. As programmed toy, and I know the musicians really liked it, really enjoyed that. And during the first performance, because first is always first, and so I was a little bit playing with DJ, but they asked me, Grau and Schumacher, they both asked me, Vykintas, please do it with this automatically machine, actually, so we can really play, and we don't know actually what it will come.
I know.
You're welcome.
So I just have little practical information. So now we're having lunchtime. Everybody's free to go wherever they like to. And we are coming back to the 4 parallel sessions 1:45. And so thank you so much once again to our diva and to our composer.